anxiety is caused by a lack of control, organization, preparation, and then action. However, that's not always easy. Our message today is centered on being prepared for life's events. It is not always possible, and I must emphasize that we are not ready for Christmas or much else. Susan and I pride ourselves on being prepared ahead of time for whatever might come along. We pat ourselves on the back. We try to plan ahead and think possibilities through. So let me say in advance, if this message is too long or too short, or we have any difficulties at all, we have not prepared soon enough or well enough in advance. Lesson learned, we hope.
And for everyone, here's a little factoid for you to ponder. National Preparedness Month is the month of September. And taking that into account, we all should have had our Christmas preparations done by September 30th. Let me see how many hands are up of people that were prepared for Christmas and done by September 30th. Okay. Remember, you're in church. There's prepared and then there's dreaming and wishing on a star. Know the difference, or you're going to be real frustrated. If you're planning or preparing a holiday dinner, when you're going to the grocery store, out shopping, take a list and stick to it. That's the best way to efficiently and economically go grocery shopping, meal planning, and generally be prepared. And if you do this, then you will avoid buying 15 packages of Little Debbie fudge cookies, which would happen to be on sale at half price if you bought the first 5, and another $1 off when you bought the next 5. And that's a lot of cookies to hide when you get home with your spouse.
I cannot let her loose in Costco. We come home with a variety of different things. When we're going on a trip, vacation, we have printed spreadsheets with detailed packing lists for all parts of the trip. The pre-trip, the post-trip, the trip. And there's part of it, not all of it.
This isn't made up for this sermon.
No, this will have things on it that don't have anything to do with that. If I could check my packing list and cross off each item listed, knowing it's in my suitcase, I can relax and enjoy the scenery as the train rocks me through the wine country in France, instead of trying to remember if I packed my charger for my iPhone, my iWatch, and my iMini pad.
Speaking of charging, as you know, I'm a retired English teacher. In order to be granted my teaching license, I had to endure, take a number of courses which had something to do with being organized and planning ahead. That's a must in the teaching profession. If you don't have plans and preparations out the wazoo, plus contingent plans, what-if plans, yada, 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 for any kind of event that may come up, you're going to be sunk. You might as well resign or go drive Uber. You do not want to be responsible for 40 16-year-olds in a room designed to hold 25 on an 85-degree day. The kids will turn feral faster than a mongoose stalking a cobra. If the teacher has not planned on how to provide meaningful, engaging, real lessons, those kids know. It's a hormone-related sense that they know. I was trained to prepare lessons for a week, month-long unit, entire 9-week grading period, and for the semester. They didn't train me in college how to write sub-lesson plans for when I had to be home from work ill. We had to do handouts, workbooks, pencils, dictionaries, reams of planning notes written out, seating charts, class rosters, attendance cards, bathroom passes, a no-go list for those students you couldn't trust out of your sight, what stairs to use during a fire drill, where the lounge is, the name of the security guard on your floor and when he takes a break, where the dean's office is, and the safest place to park your car, and which windows in your room do not open. That's true. All of this is not made up. You left this. We had to prepare and plan ahead, and I assure you, 98% of all teachers would drag their sick bodies into work rather than preparing and creating lesson plans like this.
At the other end of the spectrum, I taught little kids. I had elementary school. And we had to plan in extreme detail because the kids would say different things than we're really supposed to do. Even though they wouldn't suspect so, or you wouldn't suspect so unless you've taught, the younger children also take advantage of absolutely any opportunity to turn things completely upside down when you're gone. Sometimes a mob mentality takes over. One particular day, as usual, I had written meticulous lesson plans. However, the man who subbed for me left me a note saying that I had written far too much and he didn't have to read, in his words, all that stuff.
There are success stories about being prepared and how it actually pays off in the end. Our first video here is an excellent example of being prepared and reaping the reward for doing so. Here's part one.
Hopefully, we all will survive whatever life brings us. If we are determined enough to continue to move in order to survive, we need to begin to prepare with the circumstances you're dealt. When we signed up to give this message last August, we thought, as usual, oh, there's plenty of time. Then again, as so often happens, life got in the way. We lost our dog Bella, a 14-and-a-half-year-old Shih Tzu, in May, and this October we lost Dickens, our 16-and-a-half-year-old Shih Tzu. We had never been without animals in our house in all these years, and it was, and still is, very empty. Much like Nancy and Marcy's was, even though it isn't empty anymore. Susan had knee replacement surgery at the end of October. She had to stay in the hospital an extra day due to nausea. Within a half an hour after we finally arrived home, one of my brothers called to say that my 95-year-old stepmother in Indianapolis had fallen and broken her hip at her assisted living apartment. And she had to have surgery that afternoon and ended up in the same hospital room that Susan had vacated at 12:30, room 1703. The family moved her to a rehab facility, but at 95, she refused to do the therapy. Well, now, and Medicare doesn't keep you if you don't. So now my brother had to find another facility for her because her previous assisted living apartment didn't provide the kind of services that she now needed. It turns out, though, the original facility could accommodate her, but move her to another wing. So she had to move then, and that entailed moving furniture and clothing again. The room was much smaller, and that led to downsizing and disposing of unneeded items. Then right after that, our good friend Vicky's mother, 93, died the following weekend. We knew her well, and her struggles had been ongoing. We had been included in many of their family activities, and Vicky and her mother had always been extremely close to each other. Of course, I wanted to attend the funeral, and did, in Shelbyville, Indiana. Oh, it's your turn.
Sorry. You can't plan for these things, but you can plan on how to deal with them. You can have something in your hip pocket, so to speak. If you have a family gathering, Christmas, Thanksgiving, whatever, yes, the First Amendment does protect your transmitting your ideas, all ideas, whether they're deemed good or bad, poorly timed, correctly timed. But that's not the time to do that. If you're like me, you know somebody that will bait you or throw out something atrocious just so you'll react. So I suggest that you plan for these gatherings something to tell them that will make a warm, fuzzy Kodak moment so that it doesn't quickly become a verbal and emotional bloodbath meltdown for the ages that would make Liz Taylor look like Mother Teresa in Edward Albert's play, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? No, the family holiday is not the time to convince Uncle Sid that political candidate X is the only one with any working brain cells, or the occasion to enlighten your very conservative, closed-minded, ultra-religious cousin that she's reading the Bible all wrong. Big mistake. But plan ahead. Have a memorized, vanilla, non-confrontational response ready. And if someone baits you with an explosive opinion or are merely braying too loudly to be tolerated anymore, just carry out this plan. Earnestly look them in the eye and softly say, wait. Yeah, you might be right, but I'm more concerned right now with getting to know our newest baby niece in the family. I'm going to go hug her right now. Come on, you want to go with me?
And the Bible verse for today: be prepared and prepare yourself, you and all companies that are assembled about you, and be a guard for them. When I was looking for a Bible verse about being prepared, many of them referred to being prepared for war and invading armies. Those were the times that demanded that kind of preparation. Sometimes that's what it feels like today when we are bombarded with things that are our own personal wars. There are battles and there are battles. Our friend Gail had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's and vascular dementia over 4 years ago. However, her decline was fairly rapid and at a steady pace. Susan and I were the primary powers of attorney for her. The week before Thanksgiving, I got a call from the director of nursing at the facility where she'd been staying, saying that she'd taken a turn for the worse and anybody that wanted to come see her should go now. We tried to notify people, but as it turned out, on the next morning at the forum, the nurse called me about 5 o'clock in the morning and said the time would be soon. I went over to be with her and she peacefully passed away around 10 o'clock a.m. I can't say enough for the guidance from Transitions Hospice, who helped along the way, and the staff at the forum at the crossing. That evening, I was texting my family with the news that Gail had passed away. While writing it, I received a text from my sister saying her husband's father died at about the same time of day that Gail had passed away. Now for Gail, fortunately, we had made some preparations. We had made and prepaid for Gail's cremation arrangements. We will have celebrations later because of Susan's knee, of course. More planning. A week and a half ago, my cousin called to say that my Aunt Margie, who lives in Michigan and is 102, and we visit every year, had to be hospitalized with fluid on her lungs. She is now back in her assisted living apartment, but is now under hospice care. This is the aunt who was closest to my mother and like a second mother to me growing up.
To give you an example, to really understand how special Aunt Margie and her late husband, Uncle Vaughn, were to our lives, they would send Carole and me an anniversary card every year on the date that Carole and I met. They did this in the late 1970s, and I know of no one whose relatives made that loving gesture in the world like that of almost 50 years ago, but she did every year. And just like that card surprised us, bringing warmth and pride and love and joy into our lives, something happened just real close to that to Sarah Horn, the woman in the TED Talk video. Her students were the crowning joy in Sarah's whole experience. Not planned, but a wonderful offshoot of her planning and preparations for that very special moment in her life.
We also need to think of those who aren't able to prepare at all. There are many people who do not have the ability or the means to plan ahead. One of the ways the entry point helps to do this is for us to have a partner like Socoa. We can assist others in supplying basic needs, which we've been doing, which allows them to be able to think ahead and not have to concentrate as much on so many of their immediate needs. In the recent months, I've had to prioritize things that need to be done. Years ago, my dad told me that I would never be able to cross everything off my to-do list. I was absolutely stunned. Some things will have to be scratched from the to-do list, or just plain never accomplished at all. I think we have to let some things go without guilt. That's easier said than done, but I feel it's necessary. Life is full of those compromises. We have to forgive ourselves for not having everything perfect, and sometimes not even close to perfect. We need to forgive ourselves for not being able to do it all. Again, for those of us so inclined, that's not easy and causes more stress than ever. We need to learn and practice being able to let it go, just like the song says.